This is Patricia Windrow at the Cable Easel, bringing a program that's devoted to working from life, drawing things that are there in the third dimension and translating them to the flat surface, which is the second dimension. I do many different techniques, and this time I thought that I would work with things that may be familiar in everybody's household. Toys. And they also do a number of things. They teach you to look at objects. They also teach you the fundamental shapes of things, and they never change. They're always there. They don't rot, fade, deteriorate, get tired or sleepy. They're just there. And so I have a nice little bunch of them here that comes courtesy of Costume Art, a wonderful establishment in Babylon that deals in costumes and all sorts of props and things. And so these came from the menagerie of Costume Art. I'm working with just a woodless pencil. This is a piece of lead in one single piece, and I'm going to be working with white Conti crayon for highlights. Working with these fuzzy creatures, such as this guy, means that you get the general feeling of fur, which is a very intimidating texture for an awful lot of people, but here's fur and hair. Hair and fur are problems in just about every medium, everything from oils to watercolor to pencil technique to pen and ink. So I thought that I would deal with textures, animals, fun things that don't go bad on you. And let me do the first one here with this nifty little fellow. They're rather fun to look at all the time. Behind me is another animal, which you can see. I did that quite a while ago. It's the study of a puma in a series of paintings that I did called Beauty and the Beast. And of course, the beauty, of course, is the flowers below and the beast is above. That's obvious. And I worked from sketches that I had done at the zoo, and sketches that I had done from sculptures of these creatures. And so that puma back there is a painting of an animal. Now there was a nice little menagerie of things. Let me get to work on this. I want to show you how you build these creatures. All the Disney characters are done in the same way. They are all built on circles and the like. So let me just start with this little fellow, the little bear, and show you how the first thing that you start working with is the shape, the general shape, which of course the head is the circle, and then directly below that is the body. I will work darker in one moment, and then the general shape of these particular objects are what you're after. This is the way the Disney people work. You can't lose by watching. So built on the circle, this whole head is the ball. You place the shapes in a very rough but also well observed way. And the thing that I'm going to talk about while I'm doing this, because I always talk endlessly as I work, is to remember that if you have it in front of you, you probably can't really make a mistake. It's when you don't work from life that you get into trouble. A lot of people say, I can't work from life, I don't understand it, I don't know what I'm looking at, except that most people who say that have not really tried. I always say that the information is there for you to take, and you don't have to guess at it. So the other programs that are working purely from imagination or from something that is vaguely remembered is a disservice to people who are serious about wanting to paint and draw, because they're not working with reference material, with reference. They're working out of some Well, some vague kind of remembrance, which I'm sure only a very few people have got instant recall. And so there is the problem, and that's why I keep dealing with this business of working from life. I'm going to place these eyes, and according to the subject matter, the eyes are in a certain relationship to the ear, and they're directly probably here. So this is also a technique called using points of reference. The eye is in a certain distance from the ear. If you do that, then pretty much the business of having proportion falls right into place. Proportion is a problem. How do you make something big, and how do you make it small in relation to something else? It goes for landscaping as well as for drawing something as apparently simple-minded as this small stuffed bear. If you have a point of reference in a landscape, you can't possibly make a mistake in the size of your trees. So all of these things are interrelated. The techniques that I'm talking about apply in many other disciplines. So when I bring in something like this, it is not just to keep possibly a younger audience interested, but it's also to give you object lessons in how you deal with points of reference. Here, the arm of this little creature begins at approximately this point in at the base of the face, and the arm, if it's placed properly here, will fall into the proper proportion for the rest of the sketch. I find that when people are learning how to draw, they have not been either taught, told, or are they not conscious of the fact that you have to place these things in relationship to others. So it's a nice piece of information. I don't think that you can go wrong by remembering it as you do it. For instance, this is the part of the sleeve where this piece of the cloth comes down and comes up to this general area. The direction of this is up and to the collar. This strange little guy, somehow the designers have made a pocket in the back here for, well, whatever reasons they had, but it's part of the little overalls that this creature is wearing. And the ball, I find I have probably made him a little bit too low. Maybe I'll just raise him somewhat for the sake of information. And here we have the beginning of the foot touches the sleeve. When the foot touches the sleeve, that gives you some idea of how far out the foot has to stick. All of these disciplines are very important if you want to start painting. When I see other programs start instantly in applying paint to canvas with virtually no drawing, I'm shocked, appalled, and very saddened by the fact that the fundamentals seem to have been gone. There's an article in the paper recently about a man who has a program in which he produces a full-scale, completed landscape in 20 minutes. Well, you know, without meaning to use too much sarcasm, the answer to that is, well, whoop-de-doo. You know, if you can do a full-scale landscape, but the quality is what I'm concerned about, and is there any quality to it? So, if it's done fast, doesn't necessarily mean it's done well. If it's thought out as a drawing problem, then the chances are that you will escape many pitfalls and errors in the process. Well, here's a little fairly complete drawing. I've always talked about shadows being the anchors to these objects, and so I'm going to put the shadow in, whether or not it seems like it's important. I think you'll find that when that shadow is put in, and here is the shadow of the hat, something to be paid attention to whenever you're painting or drawing, is remember that the shadows are what give it the third-dimensional quality. Yes, there it is. So the ball has to be higher up on this little hat, and therefore this has to be a little bit more pointed coming down. So, well, I said that I'd use a little bit of chalk. Let me darken this shadow to give some idea of what it is. This wonderful pencil can be used sideways, as you see. It gives you a nice thick and immediate dark line to take care of color. I work a great deal in black and white because I'm an editorial cartoonist for one of the local papers, namely the Three Village Herald, and you have to have your message in the cartoon immediate, and therefore the use of black and white is vital to have an immediate message take place, so that whatever the cartoon is saying, it's instantaneous comprehension. Well, we have here some highlights. This is a white bear, and I brought in this darker pad, meaning that I have the possibility of the color of the paper, which is a sort of a nice warm pewter color, and then I'm going to be able to apply the white on top of it and then the black, which means that I've got 3 colors going here with just 2 instruments. You don't have to have an enormous amount of color in order to be able to learn anything. Color should come a great deal later. And just these few touches will show you that you can get more form by highlighting with the pale colors. The sleeve is highlighted from the top because that's where the light is coming from, just the top of the sleeve, top of this little sleeve, top of this little arm. All of these are very important lessons in drawing. There's a shadow underneath there. This is falling into light. There's a few lights on the thing. And the hat has got some lights on the top. Now, if you really are so enamored of color that you can't stand to live without it, you would put the little red and the little pink feet. However, you can also concentrate on shadows that would go here. Now, I hope I'm not spending too much time on this little creature. It's all a question of a lesson going on at the same time as observing cloth and the way cloth falls and how the shadows form. So one moment more, I'm going to give some shadow on the side of the face here, and then also shadow underneath this part of the muzzle, which will give it a 3rd-dimensional quality. It'll make it stick out because shadows do that. So as soon as I can stand away from this, so there is a certain depth here. The inside of the ear is very subtle, and you try to keep the texture of this as best you can. You can sort of insinuate that there is something bumpy here in the texture. It's nothing to do, it has very little relationship to the painting behind me of the puma, because that's oil painting and it's paints that have been blended on canvas. But anyway, here is one. If anybody, I will be happy to send these to any of the local hospitals for the little children's ward if they'd like them. So I'll just put these in the office, and if there's anybody who thinks that their hospital or nursery ward would like to have one of these little drawings on the wall for the children, it'd be compliments from me and the Cable Easel. Let me go on to another one, namely, well, why don't we just do this this little fellow with the same general technique. The form of this head is, and all of these toys' heads are much larger in proportion because they are toys, which in a way are caricatures. So there is an exaggeration. The fact that the head is that large makes it look like it's a baby, because babies' heads are large in proportion. So the placement of the head is one thing, and the angle. The hair goes down to here. The ears go past the size of the face. That's another point of reference, and they go past here. So that's going to give you the angle of the head, which is up there. There is a seam that runs down here, which tells you that it's a toy, but it also gives you the direction of where the nose is going. The anatomy of this little creature is not too much different from the real thing, from the great big things that you will see in zoos or in film, or if you're lucky enough to go to the place that these creatures live to see them. They are, in fact, used as models for the designers of these particular toys. Well, this is really nothing until the eyes go in. So let's put the eyes in and see how much difference that makes. There is a lovely, huge, shiny, beady eye here, which has many highlights. Because of the overhead lights, and well, they can be put in just as well, giving you the expression, that's really an enchanting little creature, isn't he? No wonder children just love to cuddle these things and go to bed with them. And here's where the eye comes down and meets the seam, and then there's the typical thing in an animal, that here is where the eye meets. So the use of this particular lesson, I hope, is coming across, because I think that working from life, as I have said so often before, is absolutely vital. I'm going to break now for just a moment and be back very soon. So don't go away yet. I know the lion won't. So come back. Back with old lion face here, and I'm going to continue with the same lesson using a different subject matter, but it's still a portrait of an object. It could be the portrait of one's own animal if it would sit still long enough, and many times when animals sleep is a good time for sketching to take place. Animals are of course very full of motion and so on, but they do sleep, and when they sleep, this is a good time to get the drawing pad out and see if you can get a drawing of them. Otherwise, we settle for this little nursery menagerie that I have here, and I'm giving you the shape of this face now, and the introduction of some color later. So just a little bit of white later will show you about how you get the textures when you're dealing purely in black and white. All right, the placement of the legs. The placement of the leg begins, there's some hair up here. Placement of the leg begins from where I'm looking at it. It begins just about here at the turn of the cheek. Hard to believe, but that's the way it is, because it's such a very large head. But I'm working right from what I see, and this break in the cloth, where the leg seems to be bending, is directly below the chin. So let me show you, okay, let's wait till this till the shot on the. There we are. Directly below the chin is where this break in the leg comes, and here's another one, and here's another one, and here's the size of the feet, which are large. This part of the foot sticks out past the leg. All observation, not left to the imagination, and therefore can't make a mistake. A lot of people are going to say, oh yeah, you can make a mistake. Well, you can make a lot less when you've got the reference right here in front of you. Okay, I didn't make the leg fat enough. It should be out to here, because and then there's some hair underneath here, and the other leg comes, here's the break in the cloth, and here's the other leg that comes out with the paw, and they're right close to one another. Well, hopefully this little fellow is going to look like he's actually sitting down. And then the rest of the leg goes all the way up here. The fur sticks out here on the side, and the leg goes up to here. Now, how do we get him to look like he's sitting? Well, I can see from behind him his back legs, and the paw of which comes here. There's the separation for the paw, and here's where the leg comes out. He is obviously now beginning to sit just a little bit more, and on here, this particular leg comes out here, goes off at an angle. The little paw comes down. Here's the separation for the toe, and then let me see if I can get the tail in place. There, and there's a little tail that sticks out like so, with a little fuzzy thing on the end of it. Okay, fur. How do you do fur? Fur is very very difficult. You have to observe it. It's all done with shadow, light, and shade. In other words, here the shadow of the ear is being cast on the face, and you can use, and I'm using the side of this pencil to get the larger lead pencil working for me. The fur comes out like so, and you've got to do some nice sort of sure motions with the pencil. When you're doing a pencil technique, you have to do a nice sort of spontaneous lifting of the pencil as you go out, and to try to get this texture of these things. And you can see that you start strong and you let the pencil feather out as you come to the end of the stroke. So these are actually strokes, and that's what I'm telling you. So these are all techniques which I think are nice to let people in on, because, well, schools, I'm afraid many times schools simply don't attend to this. So here we've got, there's that fur with a rather nice close-up with these strokes. And the strokes that I'm giving here are triangular shapes, such as like this, 1, 2. And a little bit of practice can make those not too difficult to master. As you can see, I'm interested in textures as well. All right, we have the whiteness of this muzzle, which is only being picked up at the top of the muzzle. That gives you a little bit of texture. But I didn't bring any full color or you know, peach colored pastels. But that doesn't matter. This is we're dealing in black and white right now, and the object lesson is clear enough. The light is falling on this part of the object, this part of the feet. And where is that shadow that I keep talking about, hoping that I can make an impression on people that shadows are vital? Okay, there's a shadow coming from this foot, and it goes all the way to the back, because the rest of the body is in shadow. And let me move this bear so that I can see where the rest of the shadow of the lion goes. Okay, the shadow is here. So we have here the separation of the toes, and the separation of these toes here. There's nothing more than black threads, but they can be put in. As you see, I'm holding my pencil not like I would hold it as if I were writing, because I'm not writing, I'm drawing. And a lot of people will grab their pencil like this and hold on to it as if they are going to draw letters. They're not. You can use a far more improvisational technique by holding your pencil this way. You get more strength in the thumb. You're going to get more darkness when you need it, and it's a good way to get your shadows, the sideways thing of the pencil. All right, well, it looks to me, well, we could do a few more strokes up here and see whether or not I'll just do this so that when I can tear this off, and maybe we can have somebody call up sometime, or call the station, see if you can get these drawings. I'll sign them, of course, and date them so that anybody this is one, whatever, yeah, I'll put the date on 90. Good. So here's a lion for somebody who might like to have it. There's a little lion. I'll finish up a little bit before we get off the air. So we have here. Let me show you some of the other toys that I have. This is the best object lesson for how to draw Mickey Mouse. I think it's a little overpriced. They're $7 and they're bought at Disney World, but nevertheless, this is a perfect example of how to draw Mickey Mouse. I think we have a few more minutes. Why don't I just try to show you how on what principle the Mickey Mouse character is built. This is not exactly the way you see it on the screen, but it is built on, this is the Disney Channel logo. Obviously, you've seen this many times. It's got the 3 circles. Those are the principles upon which these characters are built. Then, of course, the body below, which can be done in any number of ways with the arms, and the body is also another circle. In this particular one, when you're holding this, you have a model which to which you can go to find out what you're doing. All of this is helpful. And so that's why I brought it in, so that you all could see what happens when you have reference material. Okay. Well, when I get involved with drawing, I find myself maybe not paying too much attention to whether or not what I'm doing can be seen by the audience. Anyway, we have here's the placement of the feet. These are little baby Mickeys anyway. And of course, this is the apron, and if I've got it in front of me that I can you know, I would never have thought of putting an apron on her, and she's got a little ruffle here, and so on. Well, let's get to the face. Then there's another circle. The circle that is going to be the nose. So we have 4 circles. That's a good beginning for anybody who is interested in learning how to do the Mickey Mouse character. This circle is the shape of the nose. In cartoons, it is very long. In this little doll, it happens to be round. Let's see whether or not this can look like the character. That well, it'll look like what I have in my hand, not necessarily the character that you see on the screen, but it's certainly is close enough. It's got a little tongue sticking out. And this head is just ends this way. The Mickey Mouse character is not exactly like this, but it certainly is close enough to be able to find out how you do it. This is the beginning of the face. Here is the demarcation of the pale part with the point at the top of the face. It matches on this side, and then it comes out in the chin. Now, sitting on top of this nose arrangement is where the eyes go. And I have been asked so many times how to do this. I'm hoping that this is serving some kind of purpose. This is it's a formula. There is no way of being able to say that this is not a formula. It is a formula drawing. Of course, this is Minnie. Therefore, Minnie has the eyelashes. And there are usually only 3. Oh, sorry, I put 4 in. That's wrong. After only 3. She does not have eyebrows. Mickey has eyebrows. She does not ever have eyebrows. So you can see how rigid the patterns are. All right, so the rest of it now has got to merely be turned into black and white. This becomes black, as we all know. And oh, they've got a ribbon on her, something I never would have thought of doing if I didn't have it in my hand. The hair ribbon here. And I'm hoping that if there are some young people watching, that they will be able to take this in good faith, that if they want to learn how to draw, they'd better pick up an object and draw what they see. It is not only fun, but it's also valuable material to know for any time that you want to do anything in the arts, is to work from reference material. So I'm just, you know, filling in the colors now. I hope that this was of some use to anybody. This has been a half an hour of drawing toys. They're rather enchanting. I'm sure that Christmas having been not too distantly past, that the houses are full of these objects, which should do more than just sit on shelves and beds. They can be used as models for drawing lessons. Sure appreciate your watching me. As we close, I'll say bye-bye, but I'm going to be sketching this elephant as we leave. This is a wonderful creature. Look at him. Isn't he the best? And don't forget, thanks again to Costume Art for giving us these toys. Goodbye, everybody. Don't forget to tune in the next time you see Cable Easel advertised. Bye-bye.